Okay, I have another special topic for Java early objects that is going to be using arrays with methods. So some of you guys coming in from C++ talking about the pass by reference, pass by value, just keep talking about those things. And now we're going to see how we're going to do arrays with methods. So we have, remember, when we're creating an object, it's going to have a physical location in the memory, and the variable is going to contain the address of that object in the memory. So in this case, when we're creating an object of some values over here, that's going to be prices. We're going to create this object with the values in it, and then we're going to return the address of this in the object, and we're going to put it in the prices. So that's the way the array is going to be working, just like an object. Now, when we calling a method that we are passing the arrays to it, what's going to happen is not going to take the whole object, make a copy of it, and pass it on. It's just going to pass the address of it. Remember when we talked about the references, that if you have two variables containing the same address, meaning that both of them are going to be pointing to the same location in the memory. So this is the way we're going to have our method. So we have a sum that's going to have a parameter for, it's going to have a parameter here for an array. And we're going to do some stuff with it. I'm not going to go through the detail of this, and it's going to return a total. Now, when we're talking about pass by reference or pass by value, it depends on how we're looking at it, and it might be confusing for some people when you're coming from C++ and talking about those things. So what it happens actually is going to copy the value of what we have, but the value of what we have is just the address, it's not the whole array. Remember, when we have prices over here, the prices contains just the address. So when we call it over here, we're going to make a copy of a variable, in this case called values, and we're going to put the content of these prices, which is the actual address of this one, and then that's what's going to pass. So the values from this point on is going to contain the address, meaning what? It's going to be pointing to the same location. Now, good thing about it is we are not moving heavier stuff. So if I have 10,000 element in my array, I'm not moving 10,000. I'm just using the address of that one, whatever size we're going to be using for the address. The bad thing about it is because it's contained the address and is pointing to the same location, it can potentially change my array. So a rule of thumb is whenever we're receiving things by reference, we will not modify it. Very seldom we can do that. So if we do any kind of changes to an array, we're going to return another array. We are not going to modify this array. And I'm going to show you how we're going to do that. So we can change the values of the array that we're passing. So we have to be careful about what we're doing. So in this reference, we are passing an array and we're passing a number. So with the reference, it's going to copy the address of it and put it in there. And for the value, it's going to copy that one and it's going to put it there. And we are multiplying these things. Now, this is a visual way of looking at it. So I have this array that we have created. I have an object of this array. The reference to that one is in score. Now, when we get to the array, remember when we call the array, the parameter is going to be like local variable. It's going to be created at the time of calling the method. Now, we have two things. We have a values and we have a factor. So factor is going to copy 10 in there. Values is going to copy the address that was containing in the score in there. So they're both going to be pointing to the same object. Now, when we're done with the method, all the local variables, including the parameters, going to go away. So my values and the factor that were parameters, they would be treated like a local variable. They're going to go away. So now they don't point to the object anymore. We're going back to one address in scores that's pointing to the object. And remember, Java has garbage collectors. So it's going to have a system, not right away. It's going to go around and it sees that this value doesn't point to anywhere. So it's going to clean it up for us. We don't have to have destructors like you had in C++. Another thing that we can do in Java is we can return an array. So that's something that some of you guys thought that would be good in C++. We cannot do it over there, but we can return the array. So how do we do that? So we can have an array. So we calling this square. So we are passing a number. And then in here, we're going to create a local object. So we are creating a new int n. That's how many we're going to do it. We're going to do some stuff in it, and then we're going to return it. So how that's going to happen is when it returns it, it's going to go back here. And it's going to copy this address that we have here into this one right here. Now numbers is going to have the same address of the result at. Remember, result created a new object in the memory, so, and it has an address to it. Now it's going to take that address and it's going to pass it on to numbers. Now the numbers are going to be pointing to that object that was created in this method. And when we're done with the method, the result is going to go out of scope and the garbage collector is going to come and clean it up so we don't have to worry about it. So generally, if you have an array going to your method and there is going to be some modification involved with it, you will create another array. You do the modification in that array and you're going to return it. Now, if I am calling this method and I want to change the content of my own array, then I can assign this new one to the previous array. So I calling the method, I'm going to decide if my original array has to be changed or not. So I'm going to pass the array here. Majority of time, we are not going to modify this array that comes to us. We're going to create a new object and we're going to return the reference to that object. So the caller can decide if they want to change their original array or not, because we might have different algorithm in different times. So we may need to change it. We may not need to change it. Okay, I'm going to stop right here and we're going to go talk about the next topic. So I'm going to stop